Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Global Health Talks on the brighter side. I'm Nika Stasny, a Global Health PhD student and your host. In each episode, I sit down with inspiring global health professionals whose work is offering hope for a better and healthier tomorrow. But before we begin this time, I'd like to take a moment to reflect a bit, since this is the final episode of Season 1. When I first started the podcast, I simply wanted to create a space for honest conversations about the people behind global health, their journeys, challenges, and what keeps them going. And looking back now, I can honestly say it has been such a fulfilling project. Not only have the people I've met and the conversations we've shared been incredibly valuable, but the entire process from finding guests and thinking about the topics that I wanted to explore to stepping into the world of podcasting itself, it has sparked so many new ideas and made me even more excited about the future of this podcast. I'm incredibly happy to say that season 2 is already in the works with new guests, new conversations, and many more stories to share. So if there are topics you'd love to hear about or people you'd like me to interview, I genuinely love to hear from you. So to close out this first season, I couldn't think of a better guest than Neus Rosell Civit. Her perspective on curiosity, purpose, leadership, and creating meaningful change captures so much of what this podcast has been about from the very beginning. So let's dive in. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Neus Rosell Civit. Neus is a leader in global health who has dedicated her career to building a world where health and human rights are the foundation for equity and dignity. She is the General Director of Medicus Mundi Mediterrània, a non-profit organization working to strengthen, promote, and defend public health systems rooted in primary care. In her role, she works closely with teams on the ground, helping ensure that real, lasting change reaches communities. Neus is also a co-founder and former president of Women in Global Health Spain, where she led the organization for more than 5 years since its founding in 2020, advocating for feminism, justice, and equity across all areas of health. In addition, she has served as a chair of the Global Health Next Generation Network and has been actively involved in multiple international organizations as a volunteer and trainer focusing on gender equality, peace education, human rights, and social justice. Today, she's here to share her journey, her insights, and the lessons she's learned along the way. Neus, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
To start off, you seem to have a very clear sense of purpose in your career. Looking back at your childhood and upbringing, were there any early experiences that pushed you in this direction? Was this always a part of you, or was it a longer process of finding your path?
Well, I think we keep on finding our paths along the way. So it's through walking that we find ourselves in a matter of setting that makes sense. So when we explain our past or our path in career development, it always makes sense from the point where you are. But I think when you are through it, you just you don't know actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that always pushed me it was curiosity. So in a way of looking for new learnings and new adventures. Curiosity was always, for me, the motivation to keep forward and to keep making decisions on my career path that bring me where I am now.
Nice. Beautiful, beautiful. Is there any moment from the childhood or from, doesn't have to necessarily be childhood, also from the teenage years, from the university years that pushed you really in this direction, advocating for equity and equality?
Well, I guess my family always taught me the values of respect and human rights as a matter of fight and celebration, both. So, for one side, I remember as a child going to demonstrations advocating for peace, for climate change actions, and different gender rights. So, I always grow up in this environment of defending others and believing in solidarity among people. So this was, I guess, the setting where my values were found. But at the same time, when I started learning about science, I remember having very, very interesting teachers that pushed through this curiosity of mine, and like putting the seeds of how do you solve a puzzle in maths, in science, in even in language, I guess, in the literature classes and so on. So putting these seeds of curiosity made me realized that I always wanted these answers. And at that time, we didn't have information so accessible as now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you had curiosity, you really had to, work yourself out of this and looking for this information that it was not that easy as now that you
Mm-hmm.
can just check in internet in just a second. So I guess
Yeah.
this curiosity made me develop this working and looking for these answers. Attitude
Yeah.
towards life.
Was the curiosity maybe one of the things that also inspired you to do some of the volunteering work you have done over the years?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's my main motor or engine that pushes me forward. And knowing that the world has different ways of being understood, the cosmovisions of different peoples, was something that really pushed me to meet them and travel as much as possible. And that again opened a lot of windows
Mm-hmm.
of opportunities to get to reflect on who you really are. Because I guess when you are moved outside from where you are normally, you find other ways of understanding yourself, and that helps you see that you are not the center of everything, and that your ideas may be just yours and not universal. And I think
Yep.
that that was one of the things that helped me see that there was more and more and more in the world to be discovered.
Yeah, could you maybe take us to one of your first volunteering experiences? Not necessarily the first one, but the first one that made you feel like this and made you aware of these differences. Maybe you can give us an example of a story, a moment in time.
I can think of one that was a volunteering experience, but more as a student exchange.
Mhm.
That was the first time I traveled by myself alone. I think it was first or second year of the university, and I had the opportunity to do an exchange in Indonesia. It was a program for pharmacists, and I had the opportunity to be there in the University of Bandung for a month doing a research. And I think that was the first time I really made friends in an international setting, and it helped me also overcome my own sense of insecurity with English,
Mhm.
with being away from home, and to discover this whole new world of, because when you have the same studies, I was among university students from pharmacy as well, but they were doing the classes very differently because of cultural differences. And that was a lot of motivations and learning from my point. That was like, okay,
Mhm.
science might be objective, it is objective, but then you have different ways of studying it and doing research and understanding how research can be done. So
Yeah.
I guess it was a very, very nice offspring of learning in this world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so curious now. What was their different approach to learning and approaching science?
I guess it's very hard to put it in words, but the whole experience in university was so different. I was very focused here in Spain of, exams and marks and getting the best results in tests. But then there's this whole perspective of what else you do in university besides learning
Mhm.
the actual numbers and formulas and science. It was more about the youth experience of being connected to others, associating. They have, I guess, like in the US or other countries, they have these clubs. So after class they would meet and do this, I don't know, reading club. And I was like, but
Mhm.
this is a science faculty, why do you have a reading club? And then you see that it's not only studying, but the connections you make during university time can help you, build your own path afterwards. And I still have a lot of context from that time. So it's this way of learning that helped me a lot. There was music students mixed with the math students, and I was doing music here at the University of Barcelona while I was studying pharmacy. I also had music studies, but I was the only one. It was very strange to have
Mhm.
two worlds separate. Science and music seems not to go together. But then there I saw a lot of my colleagues from pharmacy were doing theater, were doing, I don't know, a lot of different disciplines together.
I love that. That's beautiful. And I think that we should keep them connected, no? Because I think in a weird way, somehow I think one thing can inspire the other, even though there's like not a very direct connection, but I'm sure that something happens in the brain and it helps. to
Definitely.
even approach
No.
science in a more creative way, for example.
And we are human beings. I mean, at the end of the day, when you talk to any scientist, then they go home and, they have their hobbies and they do their own hiking in the weekends or traveling or whatever. And then you see how a person is, built up with all these different sides and faces. And I like to see that at a very young age. I think I was very lucky to have the opportunity to see this uh, very, very early.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you still kept in contact and that it really helped you, this exchange and seeing that things can be done in a different way. Can you see how it helped you get to where you are now through everything that you have learned and the skills you've created?
Yeah, I think, well, I mentioned about the insecurities you have when you're young and when you start putting yourself out there. I think if I would see myself now, who I am now from that time, I would say that that was not possible for me to be so self-confident, to have this clear idea of what I want to do with my life or what I want to work on. And at that time, it seemed impossible because I was very, shy, and I had all these fears of, yeah, I don't know. I never had this, push to believe in myself in a way very structured. No, I felt I always chose things because of intuition or for this curiosity I was mentioning before, but not because I had a clear idea. And now I think definitely helped me a lot. I think at that time, because I did the internship at the university and then I stayed another month traveling around. And I think all of this, putting myself in position of being uncomfortable, helped
Hmm.
me grow a lot of these skills that now I use for my daily life and my work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, going to your work right now as a general director of Medicus Mundi, can you tell us a bit more about your work now? Can you walk us through what a typical week looks like for you? And what is something, for example, in your day to day that might surprise people?
Um, I don't know if I can make this interesting. No, definitely.
No, but let's make it real. It was in the previous episode as well that things that look really interesting and really glamorous, and I mean, you're doing amazing work, but it takes a lot of preparation that might not be so glamorous. So, but that's important to mention as well.
I think everything looks more glamorous when you're not there and when you have, the idea of how it's going to be. I think, well, a normal, typical week, as you asked, for me, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of exchange of emails and settling for new meetings for the next week. So basically, it's managing an agenda of a bunch of different activities and, you have to jump from one topic to another, so you really need to be quick on changing topics and not losing the purpose of what you're doing. That this is something very, it seems easy, but sometimes when you're in a room sitting with your screen all day, you can forget a bit why you're doing what you're doing. I think a lot of bureaucracy, it's part of our jobs. Sadly, we live in a place where, I mean, it is necessary to have all these mechanisms and transparency because we manage public funds. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, we also are stuck with a lot of reports and too much. I'm a very big fan of transparency and to push towards accountability. But at the end, I think we're spending too much time into filling forms and templates of things to just to defend the work you're doing one time and another time, and it seems sometimes a bit endless, but it is what it is. So it's the rules of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a lot of conflict management. I also have to lead with a lot of issues. Being director general now in this, it's a small, medium-sized NGO, and I have to take on a lot of responsibilities regarding human resources, which basically means managing conflict among team members or different perspective of the relationship between the person who works and the institution.
Hmm.
And then also conflict regarding financial stability and yeah, finding ways of keeping the show on, and yeah, finding that's why it's so important to focus on what is the main purpose of your role, because this way I can forget, okay, that's a lot of bureaucracy, or
Mhm.
that's, a very, I don't want to lead with this person in the administration because he's very stubborn and doesn't really understand the value of our work, but I do, and I know the people that we're serving. So I need to keep on with this idea all the time, because if not, it becomes very frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you ended it with a really, really good motivation. Yeah, of how you motivate yourself to keep going through all the administration work. For people that don't know what Medicus Mundi is doing at the moment, of what has been your recent fight or just a recent project, to put it in a better way, your mission that you have been focusing on lately?
Well, basically, Medicus Mundi is an international network. I'm the director general of one of the sites. It's Mediterrània, and we basically work towards the guaranteeing and promoting the access to health. So we work with other countries in international development, with, as I said, public funds from different administrations in Spain and also in the European Union, to guarantee this access and right to health to actually happen. We work a lot with social determinants, so that means a lot of the projects are focused on gender equity and others like poverty or access to different economic empowerment, etc. So the center is health, but then we
Mm-hmm.
work through it with different aspects. Lately, we're working a lot also on planetary health approach. So working, for example, in Bolivia with the communities in the Amazon, how they are taking care of the rainforest and the global ecosystem through their ways of existing in that context, and through the ways of protecting the Amazon, we work among health. And then there's the other side, that we also try to bring these stories and these experiences from the other countries on the global south to here in Spain. So we work with children, with schools, universities, and the global um, the citizens, to just
Mm-hmm.
show that there are other ways and other ways of living and living the right to health. That's a bit what we do.
A bit.
Yeah, making it simple, and yeah.
You have a really role that requires a lot of responsibility. So I wanted to ask you a question that it's about leadership in general. So because I'm thinking you have to manage all of these things and it requires a lot of decision making. You're so obviously focused on impact and seeing changes in real life. So these things have real consequences. So I'm wondering, how do you make decisions when you don't know what is the right answer, especially in this complex global health context?
Well, I think that's the key question of all of us that we work on providing some support of other people's needs, and actually, making a difference on other people's lives. And that's a nightmare, because you want to have the best impact, but you cannot keep only the quantitative information. No, how many children you helped to go to school or to attend a prenatal, session in the hospital. So if you keep just the quantitative, you forget a lot about who these people are. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just numbers, no. And but at the same time, you need the data to make sure that it's not only by your intuition that you're making impact. Oh, because I remember very deeply in my heart this person that we supported or we helped on this, on that. So this is necessary to keep fueling your motivation and to keep fighting this frustration of working with administrations. But at the same time, you need numbers that support this impact measurement. No, it's trying to find the value behind all of this help or all of these projects. And I mean, that's also because of my academic background or working in science, to try to support with data all your decision making. to try to be as objective as possible in terms of having these equal opportunities to be provided. But at the same time, you are not objective yourself. You have your own subjectivities. But on my role as a professional, I always try to keep as much objective as possible and with the data that supports this. It's not it's not easy. It's been written a lot about impact measurement, and I think all the organizations that we work in social impact, we have this struggle of defending that the work we do is relevant and that it's necessary, but then you need to put it in at the end of the day, you need to have budgets and you need to choose whether you put this money here or there. And then it's when even like your values, what's your priority in your mission, you need to keep forward, because I may have this personal interest or see this as a professional. We have a lot of needs to cover, and then you need to focus on something. So for one side, you need to go back to your mission all the time and why you're there and what is that you do that it's the best thing. It's There's no one else that can do this or that is the best thing that you can do. So for example, in a certain context in Mozambique, we're seeing that in a hospital, no, we are providing some tools or we are helping the professionals there to see how to improve their capacities, but at the same time we see that they don't have water tanks. And then you have the whole hospital, you have the trainers, and then there's no water. But we as an organization, we're not experts on water systems, so we go and look for alliance with someone else that do have this experience. So I think there's a lot of humility on this work as well, to see, okay, I cannot reach everything. I cannot do everything by myself because I'm going to do it wrong. And probably I will be more effective helping another hospital, but I won't leave without making sure that there's someone else that can give support on this side. No, I don't know if the example is clear, but at the end, we are managing very complex problems that require multiple actors, and you cannot pretend that you are good at everything. So for me, that's the best way of giving an impact. No?
Yeah, I think that's an amazing answer. The combination of all the objectivity that you get from the data, but also you said just acknowledging that you don't know it all, that you ask for help, and that you're always trying to do the right thing. And also talking about, you gave some examples. Well, what you're trying to do is take care of all the unmet healthcare needs. And with having to handle all of these decisions, I'm wondering that's something that I always love to ask in this podcast now, because I think global health is something that can feel really heavy. So I am always wondering, how do people that also carry all this responsibility go home without carrying it all home, without the heaviness? We already talked about rituals. So I'm wondering if you have some that really help you throughout the day.
I think sometimes we forget that we're humans and that we have limitations. I think since I've been in leadership roles, I've been reflecting a lot on this, because you want to keep, because of the objective or the goal is so big and it's so broad, and you feel that there's so much need. You can't forget that you're limited and that you're just a tiny piece in a very big global context, that it's nowadays it's in a very bad position of backlashes in rights and so on. No? So one thing is to cultivate your humility and to understand that you're just a tiny part of a big piece, and accepting this, because as all of the people that we work on these issues are very vocational and we feel this in our stomachs. It's not just a job. We do know that we're talking about people's lives and rights and all this burden that you mentioned. It's real. And I think one of the key aspects of it is the network that you can have, personal and professional. For one side, when I was, for example, in a conflict setting working in Palestine, the professional network was very important, because it's people that you're sharing the reality with. Of course, you have your family, your friends, but maybe some things, some details from there, they cannot actually picture. So one side is to find connections and in this professional setting, and also similarly you need to be connected with people who is not connected with this reality where you're facing professionally. So both things I think that help me balance a lot in this kind of situations. And then other rituals, I think, we need to build ourselves our own, sacred moments. And in my case, it works very well to be alone and to travel by myself. I think that's a very healing process for me. But also sports and nature are my key, my must to keep my mental health. Definitely. But I think in a point that where you are coherent from your values and you act as you think that you are best doing that, I think it's a way of focusing on what matters for you, so finding purpose and value on your part. I don't know, I think I've met a lot of people that actually after a lot of professional career they realize that they do not find purpose of what they
Mhm.
do, and I feel very sad. I hope it never happens to me.
Mm.
It never happened before, but I guess when you forget what you do, that has importance for others, then you may be a bit lost on this. But
Yeah.
regarding the burden, I would say so. Having fun, laughing, and going to the woods, it's my best thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Surroundings of Barcelona, I suppose. I understand how that can be the most beautiful healing way. And I love what you said about, um, about always just coming back to your purpose, and knowing that you did the best you can do at the moment.
I mean, the purpose is something that can also eat you. I mean, if you think that you are the key piece of this and then you're not having success, because it's understanding that, as I said before, you're a small piece in a big picture. Because if I think how, the world is acting today with human rights, I would feel very frustrated. But it's not
Mm.
on me. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
whole world, and there are
Yeah.
so many powers and things that if you take it only the purpose, then you would always be crying in your bed. No,
Yeah.
really. I mean,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, it's true.
The issues
Yeah.
are so deep and so big that you need to
Yeah.
keep feeling this by little successes and reflecting on what you achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also a good reality check. I wanna switch topics a bit to women in global health Spain, especially because that's how I met you. And that's how we connected. So I became a member, and it was exactly at the meeting when you were announcing the end of your presidency, but also, of course, the beginning of someone else's. So talking about women in global health, I want to talk a bit about its start because you were the president, but also the co-founder. So just in general, women in global health, it's a global movement, but the Spanish chapter was yet to come. So what inspired you to be the one to make this move now 6 years ago?
Well, I was not the one. I actually was called in by a friend, a dear
Mhm.
friend, that is now President Elena Marvan. And she was having this discussion of, okay, there's no Spanish chapter. What, how do we make one? And it was a moment where we were seeing some changes on the feminist movement and the way of how gender was starting to be on the global agenda. And precisely here in Spain, it was a topic that more and more was having, let's say, a good perspective from the social atmosphere. In the past, when you said feminist, it was more charged of negative meanings.
Mhm.
But I guess at that time it just made sense. We were finding this gap of where's the female networks that we need, and no, we are friends, but we would like to know more women doing this or that, and how do we connect with these people that we don't know they are there. I mean, we know they are there, but we don't know where and how to find them. That's why we found the gap and we decided to fill it. That's it.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing that it came from this idea with someone that you knew at the moment. So, how does an idea become an organization that now has 300 plus members? How did you do that?
Well, good question. I think there was a lot of learning on the process. I have to say, I also was part of other organizations since a very young age. I was participating in many associations, so I kind of like had the idea of how it works from a small NGO to a bigger one. And on the founding one, it's true that you need to go through some administrative part, but we had the very clear purpose and mission. So that was, I think, the key aspect of it. So we know exactly what we want to become. And there's the international movement. So there was a clear path on how to develop your own chapter in your country. And they guide us through a process of identification of partners or finding the initial funds. So different steps that would guarantee or at least help to build this group in Spain. And we followed them, and then along the way we kept finding very, very interesting women, very strong,
Mm,
and people with different also I would say experiences in the setting of NGOs, but also in academia, in companies, in the private sector, in administration. So we I think we were very lucky. That's the main thing. I think we were very lucky to find people who knew which pieces to take and to prioritize at each moment to be able to develop a full organization as it is now. And I think it's still changing, and we're still learning from it. But yeah, I think we were early the first group. um, it was very lucky to
mm.
find certain profiles.
Yeah, and what did it actually demand from you in terms of your time and energy, or even sometimes emotionally?
I mean, it's like a baby. You would always put in a lot of energy and a lot of passion. I think people was joining us because we were so passionate and talking about
Mm,
this. I think people felt connected to this purpose. As I said before, when you have a clear purpose and you like what you do, you can convince others to join you. And we had that. We had this very strong passion. So you put in a lot of energy, as in pregnancy. You put in a lot of faith and a lot of time as well. But then, yeah, we enjoyed having this opportunity. It felt like an opportunity to be able to bring this in Spain. And also at the same time, through the process we were also supporting and feeding the international organizations through our processes, because we were very active at the early years, and that's not so common for other chapters. It doesn't always happens this way. But yeah, I think we kind of created this safe space where to grow personally, professionally, as an organization as well. But because of the people that we were there, this kind of safe space was kind of the floor of being able to put in all this time and energy
uh-huh.
um, behind it. Because if you don't have this passion after a year of volunteer time, you're just done. If
Yeah,
you're not,
yeah,
so the determination and pushing
yeah.
and pushing, it's because you believe on it. If not,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, I mean, we all want to do something good, and of course, you all want to volunteer, but truly to keep it up after a year when things get a bit different, when life gets a bit different, when job gets a bit busier. I just talked about it also recently with someone. It's like, oh, well, why did I sign up for this? And there had to be a lot of passion. I can imagine.
also, I talked before about humility. I think when you build a movement, or you need to be ready for it to change. So you can start with an idea, but as you say, 300 members, it's a lot of voices now. So it's not what I want anymore, or what the smaller founders team that we were, I don't know, 10, 12. We would agree on things and then push it. And now
Uh-huh.
it's the consensus is more difficult.
Mm,
There's more voices. You may not be the prevalent voice anymore, and that's fine if you are ready to let go
mhm,
and to see, okay, what the organization is there now, and the purpose of it is to serve its members. But if you want to stick to your ideas, then it's going to be very hard. So that's why I think it's a learning process for all of us, and it's also very beautiful to see it change and grow.
Yeah. You mentioned also that this is not your first leadership role. I can imagine that maybe the other one is that you were the chair of the Global Health Next Generation Network. And together with your other roles, I now imagine you as someone that's expert in bringing people together and reaching out. So do you consider yourself an extrovert to be able to do that?
I guess sometimes yes, sometimes not. I can be very shy as well, and an introvert in some settings. I think I like to see myself as a matchmaker. I always said that. I like to organize parties where I would invite different random friends to just, put them in the same room and see what happens, and then, create the space for the magic to happen. And I think that I do as well with my work. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to be this connector, to have all the time the people in mind, and okay, when I met someone, it's like I see there's potential for collaboration with this or that, and that this person would really fit with this other person. And for building projects is very interesting, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
putting myself at the center. Actually, it is not putting myself out there, but more of creating the space for people to interact and connect. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it even happens in a random way you didn't expect. But more than an extrovert, I guess, yeah, I'm more into creating the setting and letting
Mm-hmm.
things happen by their own
Okay. Yeah, I think
strength.
I think it's really more of a matchmaker than an extrovert. You do the work of letting people do it.
I put the food, the music,
Set the
and then,
setting.
yeah, the setting. Then I
Yeah.
invite the people in, and then they do whatever they want. And if it happens, it happens. And leadership, I guess, sometimes you need to be charismatic and to have this determination of explaining your idea and
Mm-hmm.
convincing others. But I think a lot of the time it also works as working behind scenes and just preparing settings, and then you see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons why I asked you this is because I think it's such a good skill to have to be able to present your ideas in a charismatic way, to be able to meet people, and then after you have met a few, put them together. And why I'm asking it is kind of because I can imagine for a lot of young people, this networking can seem really intimidating. So, what would you recommend as a first step to putting someone out there? Like, they can be searching for volunteer experience, for an internship. How can it sound a bit less intimidating for someone that just thinks that reaching out to people and talking to people that they don't know is not their strongest suit?
Well, good question. I would ask the same. No, I guess it's just taking it out a bit of this importance, and to have, this weight of networking and being out there, spoking out. It's like it's taking it out. It's make it fun, make it soft and not so strong. Whatever, if you mess up, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I think we put a lot of, concepts, words. I remember going to congresses for the first times, and they were like the networking after hours, and I always thought like, okay, this word is intimidating itself, and at the end of the day, it's just talk to the stranger next to you, and it's gonna be fine. And if not, if this person doesn't want to talk to you, or if you seem like an idiot, it's okay. Tomorrow, this person is gonna forget about you.
Yeah,
So it's
life
like
goes on.
making it, not so relevant. It
Mm-hmm.
is important to keep it, to keep doing it all the time, but it like you're putting seeds away, and then maybe one day in 10 years these will flourish, maybe not, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not so important. The importance is, for me, and in my opinion, is to just keep working on it and keep trying. I think networking is about practicing, and you learn by doing. The first times you feel like an idiot, the second time a bit less, and the third time it's more like as a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
And then to play by your own rules. If you feel uncomfortable, I think uncomfortability is a very good thing to have in mind, that learning comes at uncomfortability. So if you are
as well.
fully confident, then it's not a learning for you.
Yeah.
But when you put out there, the first time you can do a pilot, a small test. Okay, I'm gonna be here for half an hour, and then the next time maybe you are there for 1 hour, and then the next time you can try for a bit longer, and see, okay, no, but I'm here alone with my phone. I don't know how to interact with others. Like all of this comes at a practice, and after a while you get on the game, how the rules are of it, how it works. And I mean, of course, without like putting yourself at uncomfortable positions, I think that's one side. But at the same time, don't be too harsh on yourself and see,
Yeah.
okay, this is a struggle for me. I have this limitation. I don't feel confident talking in English, for example, or whatever. Okay, just try it a bit, and then congratulate yourself, or see the small successes on the path, and not along the big play. I guess it's this. It's about practice. And then for me, it always helped as well to have some sort of friend around, or someone that you can, go in a very hard moment when you're feeling too much, and then to have someone that it's an ally, or that can introduce you to someone, and it's just jumping to the pool. You
Yeah,
need
I
to do it.
think, yeah, I think those are all wonderful advices. Really, I think you really laid it all out there. If for someone as a great place to start. So I have 3 more questions for you to wrap up. What are some of your favorite things that your career path has brought you? It can be anything.
My favorite things. Well, we talked about the sense of purpose. I think a lot of people doesn't have it, and this would be one of my favorite things, that I work in something that really fills me. And definitely the people I work with, the opportunity of meeting people and learning all the time, but also to be surrounded by people who's very passionate and also very competent. That this is also not so common, sadly. But yeah, I think I live surrounded by amazing people.
That's wonderful. I also always try to wrap up with a bit of hopefully things that can be not trying to influence you, but that can be a bit of a positive answer with giving a hope. But of course, answer it honestly as you can. So one thing that is constantly being shown is that increasing role of women in healthcare decisions is benefiting everyone. And from your perspective, have you seen some shift in recent years in that aspect?
I think I am an example. I am 32 and I'm director general of an NGO. After being in the ground working in conflict areas, I've had leadership roles. I've been involved in many processes that I never thought I would be able to do. And I think I could be an example of this. My mom would never dream of having this kind of position at a young age. So we're seeing change. I think that's a lot of way to go, and we do not have to be, settling. But I think there's change, and we need to keep pushing for the younger generations to have it better.
Yeah. I have to tell you, whether this is included in the episode or not, how much I love that you gave yourself as an example. Like truly, like I know you are, but like also on the side of just owning up to it. I think it's absolutely amazing because, you could have also been kind of like, oh, I don't want to, like put myself as an example. I have all these wonderful friends that are also examples, but I just love that you put yourself as an example. I feel like it's just such ownership of your own success.
No, yeah, I also see this as a negative value, that we talk about ourselves and this, but look at you, look at me. Like I see all of this change happening, and that we feel more owners of this
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we belong
exactly.
here.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that part. That's why I mentioned it, of that finally saying that I belong here.
And it's not the success as at the major title, because you can say that this, okay, you're doing a small NGO, whatever, it's not a big, but it's a success on my own journey. So I
Yeah.
achieved something that I was never capable of, or thought that I wouldn't be capable of. So that's my own success. I don't know if like success is something measured differently by everyone, no? But in
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
experience, yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that's the most important measurement you can have.
Yeah, but we forget this because we live on this, setting of defining success by money, by having more freedom, or there's
Yeah.
different
In general
criteria.
comparison, you can
Yeah.
have so many criteria just by if you start comparing, then it cannot be all these million things.
And it's fake because meritocracy doesn't exist. No, we have social classes, we have different opportunities. So my success may not be, my title may not be linked to my effort. And this sense, that's why I cannot compare to any others. Because if you are born of, diplomat and then you speak 7 languages and you end up in the UN, for example,
Yeah.
it's different way of measuring because of these privileges we have at when we are existing in this world. But at the end of the day, your only line is your line is the only way of comparing and learning your success. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And something that I love to add into the podcast always is like, it's just as a cherry on top. Is there a book that has shaped who we are today?
Oh, I love it. I love it because I love literature. And yeah, there's this very, very nice book. I think it's a book I've given as a gift many times. And I think it's the magic of it is that it talks to each of us. It's like, how is it in English? El Principito. Do you know
Yeah,
this?
The Little Prince.
The Little
Because
Prince.
I had a feeling you were going to say that one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like this, it
Yeah.
talks as a young girl, but then you can identify each of the learnings she's taking as an adult, and I think it's magical. Every time I read it, I learn different things. That's
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for all of the answers you have given. I think that they were not only so inspiring but also very useful. And really thank you, and also for your time, of course, for being here today.
No, thanks to you, and a lot of success on this as well. I think you're also a good example on pushing towards an idea, and I
Oh,
think
thank
you're
you.
an example as well.
Thank you. That means so much. I have to work now on embracing it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's I don't know. I'm just really happy that as well. I have kind of started this project, and it can go in any direction. But truly enjoying what it is right now.
So nice. No. It's inspirational as well to see you
Well,
pushing on the project and feeling and pushing towards what you feel.
thank you. Thank you so much. Before we end and take a short break before season 2, I'll be spending some time reflecting on everything I've learned from this first season and just thinking about how we can make the next one even better. But if there's one thing I'm already taking away from all of these conversations, is this. Out of everyone I've had the privilege of interviewing, no one has all the answers. But they keep asking questions, they keep learning, and they keep showing up. So that's exactly what I'd love this podcast to become, a place where we stay curious together, where we learn from the people that are driving change, explore new ideas, and keep asking how each of us can contribute to a healthier and more equitable world. Thank you so much for being part of the first season, and I'm incredibly excited for what's ahead.